Publishing in the digital age. My name is Tanya Sanderson, and I'm the events director for Bear Magazine. We have an amazing panel with us here tonight, as well as our beautiful moderator, Thea Lorraine, which you guys will meet in just a minute. The reason why we have chosen to host a speaker panel on this topic tonight is because we're fascinated by the publishing industry's transition into the digital world. And we are honored to have speakers who are leaders in this field. We hope everyone leaves having learned a little bit more about the new direction of the publishing industry, as well as feel more prepared to enter into it in the future. So thanks so much, and I hope you enjoy.
Hi everyone, I'm Thea. I'll be moderating this evening. Tonight we'll be discussing digital fashion and lifestyle publishing. We're so excited to have such an experienced panel, and hopefully everyone will come away with some new insights from what they have to say. If you want to tweet us and ask questions that way, just use the hashtag during it all, and we'll be answering those questions later in the program in the Q&A section. Otherwise, if you don't want to tweet, we'll just be doing an audience Q&A, so hopefully there's time for that. But with that in mind, let's get started. Let's have everyone start with a brief introduction. Would you please tell us your name, position at the company, what you do in an average work week, and what you enjoy most about your job?
I'll start. Can everyone hear me? I don't know. My name is Katie Hood-Sobrano. I am the San Francisco editor of Refinery29.com. We just launched here about 7 months ago, and otherwise, most of you might know Refinery29. It's kind of a huge brand in fashion, and it's a lifestyle site, and started in New York about 5 years ago, and it's just become huge. And so now we're going really local, and so we have this great San Francisco site, which I'm running. We just have a staff of 1 person right now, who's me out here. But we have 5 really amazing interns, at least 3 of them are here tonight, and so they really help me out. I have great freelancers, and in a, what was the other question, in a regular work day?
Yeah.
What happens?
Yeah,
I publish 6 posts a day. That it used to be 7. I think the goal was 9, but I just said no. So we do 6 posts a day, and again, like my interns help out with a lot of that. One of the posts is a really large post. It's usually original photography, a bigger story, and it goes out in this newsletter that reaches tens of thousands of people every day. And yeah, so I work New York hours, so I wake up at 6:30 and start writing, and it's a tough job, but really fun. And yeah, that's it.
Hi, my name's Britt Stevens, and I work at Sugar Inc. I was just recently promoted to assistant editor of Fab Sugar. Before that, when I first started, I was an editorial assistant for Fab Sugar, Bella Sugar, Celeb Style, and Fashionology. So now I'm actually just working primarily with Fab Sugar, and then I also split my time on Pop Sugar, which is celebrity news. Let's see, I'm a recent transplant to San Francisco from LA. I previously worked in wholesale sales. I worked in a showroom downtown Los Angeles in the fashion district. So I came up here basically to follow the dream, I guess, of writing. And it's been great so far. An average work week for me, I write anywhere between 5 and 6 posts daily and that kind of differs. I could do split my time between Fab and Pop, or I write just primarily for Fab. Really every day is pretty much different. Yeah, what was the rest? I think
what do you enjoy most?
Oh, that's an easy one. First and foremost, I love the people I work with. It's like the most amazing group of women and Danny.
I am the one male editor.
He's the one male editor. So that would probably be my main. And then just, getting to do what I love every day and write about clothes and celebrities and pop culture. It's always something I would, be talking about anyway, so it's great to do it for work. Yeah.
So I hired Britt about a year ago because she sent me cupcakes. We were joking about that in a way. My name is Danny Fakis. I've been at Sugar for a little over 4 years. I went to school for journalism at the University of Kansas, which is where I'm from, and then post-college I actually was a corporate merchandiser for Banana Republic for a few years, and then really just missed writing and kind of being in that journalism realm. So I looked towards other opportunities, especially since most of my days at Banana were spent reading blogs. I was like, maybe I should go work for one. So I got hired at Sugar. I'm the editorial director of style, so I oversee Fab Sugar, Bella Sugar, Celeb Style, and Fashionology. A daily work week looks different every day. I do a lot of high-level planning with the groups to kind of dictate the content. I also read every post that goes live and deliver any feedback about any changes that we want to make or revisions. We are a well-oiled machine at this point, so I'm always pleased with what goes up. It's a rarity that I change anything. And like Britt said, my favorite part of working there is definitely the people. Like I said, one of 50 wonderful editors, but I am the lone male. And that creates a very fabulous dynamic. Yeah, that's my favorite.
Well, you kind of answered this in your question, but the second question, or you answered it in your answer. The second question is, did any of you guys think that you were always going to be writers or editors, and what you think, obviously journalism, what do you think prepared you for your position?
I mean, I knew that I wanted to be in the fashion world more than anything. Like I did go to school for journalism, but I actually did a strategic communications focus, so it was more advertising PR. So I didn't exactly know what I wanted to do post-college, but I had been working, and I think this is like something to stress, is like I've been working at Banana Republic in the store, so just having a passion there, I was able to get an internship there and just kind of follow my way up the corporate ladder. And then when I was there, I really loved the creative fashion-y aspects, but I missed writing, I missed kind of that, tangible thing, so that's why I kind of explored other opportunities.
I, like Danny said, I knew I wanted to be involved in the fashion industry in some capacity. I didn't, you grow up and you know so little, you don't know exactly like all the different avenues you could potentially go into. So I went to fashion school. I went to the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising in Los Angeles, and I actually majored in visual communications. Going into school and all through high school, I knew I wanted to work with clothing and I wanted to work on like the visual aspect of the industry, and I originally thought I wanted to be a stylist. And then I took a styling class well into my first year, and the more I learned about it, I was like, I don't know if that's for me. It's not very consistent, and sometimes you work months at a time, and then you don't have work for months at a time, and I just crave something a little more stable. So my first job out of college was I did windows, I did visuals for a store called Metro Park, which I'm sure you guys might know about here.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. At the time, it was the very first store in California. I was in Orange County, and so it was like a really big deal, kind of opening the store and just starting out like from the ground up and doing visuals, and which I loved, but it didn't feed me as creatively as I thought. And I'm trying to speed it up. I always wrote, no matter what I was doing for work, I always wrote. Personally, I always had blogs. I had, when I was in junior high, I had like a Britney Spears fan site. Yeah, I'm not lying. I taught myself HTML, so it's like I just kind of always had that hunger for writing and reading. And did I know I was going to be doing exactly what I'm doing now? No, but I hoped that I would be combining writing and fashion in some capacity. So it's kind of, it's just like a miracle blessing, however you want to call it, that I'm doing what I'm doing now.
I grew up in Nebraska, so it's a huge fashion center, obviously. And I loved fashion from, I don't know, since I was probably like 8 or something. And I used to go to the Lincoln Public Library and like check out Harper's Bazaars and Vogue's and W's and like literally study the pages, like quiz myself on them. So I knew I wanted to work in fashion, and I figured out, at first I thought I wanted to be a fashion designer, and then I kind of discovered probably around like 15 that I was really in love with the magazines themselves, and I thought, what can I do to be involved with this? And then I thought I wanted to be Anna Wintour, and I wrote that on my college essays and all of that, and ended up getting into NYU and studied journalism, and so I actually kind of have known what I wanted to do pretty early, and when I was at NYU, I started having all these internships. I worked at a bunch of indie magazines like Black Book and Surface and Damon Dash's hip hop magazine. And
that's so you.
I know. I have a really weird hip hop past. But yeah. So I kind of did always know what I wanted to do, and what I really like about journalism is, like I was saying, like I loved hip hop at one point. I really loved sports. I loved NBA basketball and fashion, like really high fashion. And I've been able to write about all of those things and more at Refinery. Like we cover home decor, and we cover, I think we'll probably do a little bit more health stuff, and we do music, and we do food and everything. So I mean, journalism is a great field because you really can, if you know how to write, you can really write about all of your interests. So.
The next question is more about the growth of the digital space. So it can be overwhelming for certain businesses or individuals. When you first started, what aspects of perhaps online writing versus print were new to you, and what aspects of it keep changing, and how do you adapt to it?
Yeah, I started out in print. Like I was working on a lot of magazines, and even I graduated. I wasn't even like, people were on AIM, and like I wasn't. So I was a little bit slow on that part. And then I guess things started to move more towards web. Like I don't know. Like my career, I started writing for Style.com, which is this big site, and I was doing their party reporting. So I was like writing for them and then turning in the text, but then they were doing all the back end stuff. So I was like writing for the web, but I didn't really know anything about how to input things into a system or HTML or any of that. And that kind of changed about, I'd say like 2 or 3 years ago, where I started writing for AOL. They have this big site called Stylist. It's like their fashion site. And they made me put everything into the back end, and I'd say that's really when I became like really savvy about digital stuff. I could see all the stats, and it's really about traffic and all of this. So I'd say, yeah, my career probably changed from print to web probably about 3 years ago, maybe a little bit more than that. As far as how things are changing, I mean, I think it's really smart to have an internship with the website and actually try at some point to learn the back end stuff. Like try to learn. I don't actually think you need to know HTML. I think you just need to know like Blogsmith or some kind of back end like WordPress or something. So start your own website so that you can get to know that stuff, because if you don't know it, it's not on your resume, I mean, it's going to be kind of hard to get a job. And I still have friends in New York who they still work in magazines, and it's kind of like an outdated medium in a way. I mean, it's still a lovely medium, but I just think, you have to have some experience where you can say that you've worked for a website and written for one and all of that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I know a lot of people who kind of like just didn't really bother to learn, more digital stuff, and it does kind of hinder you when you're going out and looking for a job, especially in this kind of space, because especially, being so young and fresh to the industry, people now hiring, they expect you to know that kind of stuff because you're so young and because we're coming up in this digital age. I feel like it's a bigger ding if you don't know that stuff, like being so young, because I'm including myself in your age, bracket. We grew up on that. So I think for me, ever since like we got a computer in my family, I was like on AOL and AOL chat rooms and just like on Blogger and just like kind of just always was really interested in learning that online stuff. And at the same time, I still love print magazines. I don't think I'll ever stop like buying magazines because there's just something about that tangibility that I think is just really amazing. So, but it's definitely for me. I realized pretty quickly in school and in college, you know, that's definitely expected of you is to know a lot about the online space and to know a lot about the internet, and especially now with like there's a new social media thing coming out every day, and as much as I, you know, want to turn it off a little bit, it's like you still just need to know. You just don't ever, especially with online mediums, it's like you don't ever want to be clueless about that kind of stuff when someone asks you. And I think it's very, very important now, if there's one thing, you know, looking for a job, it's like that's gonna be on everybody's job listing. Whether or not it's an internet company or a digital company, it's like everyone's gonna want you to know, you know, about the internet, about computers.
To be versed in social media.
Exactly. So I think for me, it was pretty seamless as far as, you know, I never had like a print background. I loved print magazines, but most of my work always had to do with computers. So in college, you know, I had to take an entire like 6-week class on just Photoshop and Illustrator and what's like the drafting software? I don't even remember. Something, yeah, it was like that was a nightmare, but I'm like so thankful that I had to do that stuff in school because there have been times where I've been asked if I know how to do something and I'm like, I don't know how, but yes, I do know that. So it's kind of just, I would just say just like get out there and learn as much as you can. Like Katie said, like try to educate yourself in like a blogging platform. I'm sure you guys are all either have blogs or are on social media in some aspect. So yeah, I would just say that's probably the biggest tip for like graduating and finding a job. It's like you have to know that stuff or pretend to know it and then go and learn it.
Yeah, I've done that before.
Yeah, I mean,
Photoshop.
right, exactly, and just like do whatever you can, like Google the crap out of anything you need to find out and just find it out.
The one last thing I'll say is, you know, from a Fat Sugar perspective, I'm sure it's the same with Refinery. We write the posts from A to Z. So we do our own HTML. We a lot of times take the photos, we Photoshop the photos, we publish it ourselves. Like everything is done by us. So like all of those skills definitely are needed. And if you don't know, we have a blogging platform called onsugar.com. So if you want to start a blog, that's the place to start.
Kind of keeping and talking about that, how do you stay ahead of the curve in digital trends on all of your sites?
Well, like digital trends, different than reporting, right? Like stories. I mean, I'm lucky because at Refinery, you know, I'm the only staffer out here, but in New York we probably have like 40 people. And we have a whole digital team over there, and we have like a production director, and, you know, that we've met with him and just told him like different things that we want in the back end. Like we want, I don't know, like something to move from this place to this place automatically, and like they work on that. So we have a full team that's like dedicated to that. I think you're gonna see Refinery's gonna start rolling out a bunch of new things. Like right now, the people that read it here, I guess like sometimes posts get kind of lost because it becomes more of a blog format. So things are going to be more organized. We're going to have like an events calendar and things like that. So we're always thinking on the digital end. And you know, we're not Refinery's like a digital company. Like it didn't start as a magazine. Therefore, it's like that's always first priority is like, you know, being user friendly and all that. You guys as well. So.
Yeah. It's the same at Sugar. We have like an entire engineering team that we bug like daily about, you know, like the second something isn't working, or you know, the second something's just like off a little bit, we have like a specific email that we send to them that's like, you know, tracking bugs. And like Katie said, it started always as a digital company, so I think that's been like their number one priority, is obviously to make sure things work in that aspect. I think as far as blogging and staying ahead of the curve in that sense, I myself just try to never, it's like, as much as I don't miss being in school, you still have to have that that hunger to like be open to keep learning things. And it's a lot easier when you don't have like assignments or homework or whatever, but yeah, but it's like you want to, because this is your job and this is what you do. It's like you don't want to be that person that's like clueless about how something works or how something should work. So as much as I, you know, need to do my job, and so sometimes I'm just like, you know, whoever can fix this, please fix it. It's like I still want to know why it happened in the first place, and like how I can fix it myself in the event that it happens again. And with social media, like I said, you know, it seems like some new platform comes out every day, and sometimes I'm like, well, I don't want to be on that. Like I'm on enough stuff. Like I don't want to keep like staying up, yeah, like staying connected with things, but it's good to just know what's going on, and especially those people that are on those platforms are your readers more often than not. So any way to reach your readers it's only going to help you. So as far as staying ahead of the curve, I think I just try to always be open to learning about new things. I hate being that like left out of things or left out of knowing about things. So even if I hear about something and, you know, find out what it is and hate it and never want to look at it again, at least I can say that I've heard of it. And so when it comes up in conversation, I'm not like, oh no, what is that? Right. I at least want to be like, oh, I hate that. So, I think my number one tip would just be, you know, don't ever like think that just because you're out of school, you shouldn't pick up new things or learn how to do new things or, you know, learn a new program, because like we've seen, it's like there's something new every second. Probably as I'm speaking right now, there's some new thing coming out, and you just want to know about it. And just try to do your best. Oh.
I think from a larger level perspective, we are just trying to diversify how we make money. So we obviously are a blogging platform, and we definitely get a lot of funds from advertising, but we've tried to diversify with like the acquisition of ShopStyle, which, if you're not familiar, is like a Google-type engine for shopping. We have recently launched something called Pop Sugar Shop, which is daily deals in both local and national level, which I know Refinery has reserved. So it's kind of just trying to stay ahead of just doing one thing, because you know, I think that's only going to keep you ahead of the curve.
Okay. Kind of on the other end of that, how do you stay ahead of the curve in terms of reporting and journalism?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this on the drive over. I think for us, it's always about kind of garnering exclusives. Like, I think that's really what's going to differentiate you in the marketplace, is the original pieces. So, you know, we definitely take advantage of any time there is a designer or something happening in San Francisco. We'll definitely send mostly Brit out. And, you know, we do have New York editors who are able to do the same thing, but I think that is kind of how, from a reporting standpoint, we stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah. I also think, like, never count out your readers. Never, like, assume that someone's not going to be interested in it because you're not interested in it. Especially, like, if there is some angle there, I say always explore it and try to, you know, if it takes a little convincing of your editor of why you think something might work and why you think it might appeal to your readers, I say just at least do what you can to try to make something happen. If you really believe in it, explore it. And when it comes to reporting, I mean, obviously it's about asking questions and trying to, you know, tailor your questions for who you're speaking to and who your readers are. But I think when it comes to staying ahead of the curve with writing and editing, I think you obviously need to pay attention to what else is out there, and tailoring your voice to who you're writing for, but you also need to like find your own voice and know that the more you write, the more people are going to want to read what you write and how you write. So I think it's a mix of staying true to yourself and then also exploring what else is out there, exploring angles.
Mine's a little bit different, or just, you know, we're a local site. I only focus on San Francisco, so I guess the way to stay ahead of the curve is, you know, it's really like being out there and like hitting the pavement and seeing that there's a new shop that just opened, or that there's like, that a shop's being worked on and there's paper over the windows, like what's happening there. And like, you know, it's like real reporting, and I think that reporting, in my case, you know, it's like you just can't sit behind your desk and find out, because that means someone else is reporting on it and they're telling you, and then you weren't the first one, you know. So I think it's really important to get out there, try to think of like different stories we've had. We just did this big piece on Google, the Google campus, and we had like an amazing day that we've spent down there. And you know, that just came from meeting some girls that were so cool, and then it's like, you work at Google, like we're totally doing a story on you, you're so adorable, you know. And that happens a lot. Like we met a girl who was like, I don't know, I guess I was at a party and she like had a little meat cart and she was so cute, and I was like, we're obviously doing a story on you, has anyone done a story? And she's like, no. I'm like, okay, well, can we do it next week and don't give it to anybody else, you know? And so, yeah, and I'm really like, you know, big initiative is to break news, especially when it comes to fashion. There's not a lot of competition out there as far as the fashion stuff. There's tons of food competition. So they usually break a new restaurant before we do, but you know, we'll have a cool angle on something. We'll go with the chef into their home kitchen. We did an amazing piece on, you know, the hottest, meaning good-looking chefs under 30 in the city. You know, which is our angle, and it wasn't about breaking it, but no one else has those interviews. So just about kind of being on the street, knowing everything. I read probably every single site at night just so I know what happened during that day of news. So being a good reader as well.
Another kind of flip-flop question, specifically as it relates to fashion and lifestyle, what do you think the upsides are to digital journalism as opposed to print, and what do you think digital publications lack?
Yeah, I mean, I think that print, you know, you still have these like beautiful, lush, like photo portfolios, and that's not really replicated online, although Refinery, I mean, we're such a visual site. We do have these beautiful, like, original photography and these, you know, great slideshows and everything. So we do try to put a focus on the visual as well. But yeah, you're not going to be able to hold it. They're not going to be this big when you're looking at these pictures. So, you know, maybe that's still a struggle, but we do as best as we can. And we've also come up with new, like, slideshow formats that show pictures bigger and try to, you know, have a little bit more of that experience. What was the other part? Just like how they differ, or
yeah, what the downside and the upside.
The upside is just it's so much content. I mean, we do like 30 stories a week at least, and you know, print is so slow. Like I remember being there and you had a deadline. I worked at Marie Claire in details full time, and I'd have these deadlines. It's like, oh, it's due in 3 weeks. And like now it's like in 2 hours, you know? And so you're just pumping out so much content. I actually like that because like most writers, I'm a huge procrastinator. So like I need a deadline that's like in an hour. If you give me 3 weeks, I'm gonna do it like an hour before. You know? So yeah, I like that. It makes you super productive. It's so much great content. And you're not fighting for real estate. Like in a magazine, you write something and then, you know, it comes up 3 months later and they don't really care about the story that much anymore. They lost their enthusiasm for it. Therefore, they'll cut your story that you work so hard for. So in digital journalism, you know that it's going up right away. You see it. You didn't waste your time. You did it, and it's up 3 hours later. And I like that kind of, that it's instant, you know. But yeah, so I think there's a lot of upside. There's just more content, which to me is great.
Yeah, I agree with like everything you're saying. I think the biggest upside would be just the speed of everything. You know, you hear about something on Twitter and you Google it and you know, you can see it on your favorite blog like seconds later. So I think as far as seeing news and seeing angles on news as soon as it's happening is a huge upside. Like I said earlier, as much as I love digital content, there's nothing like having that beautiful, yeah, I have magazines from probably like I was in junior high. Like the stories don't even make sense anymore. Like I found like an InStyle, and there were pictures of like Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears like dating still. And I was like, when is this, like how long have I had this? So it's just, and it's probably, you know, there were one or two like amazing editorials in there that I just always want to go back to and look at. And so I think
also you hold on to them.
Right,
whereas
exactly.
Like digital media can seem disposable sometimes.
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
You spent all this time on a story and it's like, where is it? It's just
Right.
with all the rest. So
yeah,
that's
exactly. You have to go through tag, you have to do everything. But yeah, I think that's a huge upside. You know, you see something beautiful, and I still tear books from college of just like just like you know, a beautiful outfit that I want to copy one day, or just beautiful colors, or you know, that's why people get, you know, they rip out pictures of like wedding dresses that they want one day or something like that. It's just having that is so amazing, and I think will always be amazing. But I think the definite upside of digital is just the speed and the amount of content, and you can just reach, I feel like, so many more people in an instant, and it takes like one person tweeting or Facebooking something for, you know, something you wrote to go viral, like, or get passed around, and I feel like you just probably have more eyes on your stuff digitally.
And you know how many people read it.
Exactly. You have all, yeah, exactly. You have all these means of finding out how many people have read something, how many people have clicked on something, how many people have, in our case, we do so many shoppable stories that it's like, how many people have bought something that you recommended that they buy. So there's just a lot more, information, I feel like. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing that will ever be like, you know, sitting on like a Sunday morning and having a stack of magazines and like going through them, and there's still something about that. So it's great. I've done that. That should have been my first answer.
No. Obviously, Katie, the vast majority of your team is based in New York. So you obviously have a very specific San Francisco-based refinery, 29 in San Francisco. But how, Danny and Britt, how do you kind of gain a more specific perspective to the Bay Area when you're writing a more nationally based blog? What's the difference for you?
I'll take it. You know, we're a nationally focused blog, so we don't really have a lot of Bay Area angles. If there is something that we want to write about, we'll typically either tweet about it or Facebook it. But we really want the slant to be for a national audience, because this is for people, you know, in my hometown in Kansas, like they should be able to read it too. So I will say, especially when it started, there was a real California sensibility. So a little bit more casual, a little bit more surfer. I think as we've tried to elevate the site, we've kind of gone away from that a little bit, but definitely there was a California thread that was there when it started. Yeah. And to be honest, we actually have a big team in New York now too. So Britt and I are holding down the fort here. And then we have 2 editors and a third on maternity leave in New York. So we're able to kind of get both the East Coast and West Coast feel, and yeah, we're looking for someone in Kansas, probably.
No, I think, you know, it's also personal too, like your writing style is going to come out. So, you know, where I, you know, was born on the East Coast but grew up in LA area and now living up here, it's like there's always going to be something about me that is going to have that like California slant on something, whereas, you know, the girls that live in New York and, you know, are from there and pound the pavement there and see what people wear there every day, they're going to kind of have that New Yorker angle. So I think, you know, when it meets, it's great, and, you know, yeah, we definitely try to keep it on a national level. We know it's really fun seeing people from all over the place that are kind of like devouring this content, or even, you know, overseas people really enjoying the content, and
They don't know what's made of.
exactly, they don't, yeah, exactly, they don't know, so they're just kind of like, this is great, this is fashionable.
Most people are surprised that we're based out of San Francisco.
Right, so, yeah, I think that it definitely comes across as we try to cater to everybody.
And I was gonna say, from my perspective, I am doing really hyper-local coverage, but I do, you know, I have so many friends in New York, and I've made them subscribe to the San Francisco newsletter, and my father in Nebraska and everyone. And I want them to still be interested in what we write about, and I think that they are, like, you know, a lot of people read our coverage and they're like, oh, I really want to move to San Francisco now, and,
Yeah.
you know, and I would read something about a hot chef in New York, like, you know, I do where I live, like, I subscribe to the LA and Chicago newsletters, like, before I got the job, so I still am interested in, you know, what's happening locally, and I want to use those as a guide if I'm going to go visit those cities anyways. So I kind of, you know, sometimes I'll delete it if it seems too hyper-local, like I'm reading some about LA and, you know, like Thanksgiving dinners, I think she did today, like, I don't care about that. But if it's something like Philip Lim's Guide to LA, like, I want to keep that,
Right.
and totally bookmark that. So it is, even for me, like, having some things, like, you know, our tour of Google's campus is something that I think did really well. It didn't just do well in San Francisco, it did well nationally. So.
Plus, oh sorry, I just have one more note, I'll be really quick, I promise. So like 90% of what I do day to day is shopping stories and online shopping, so I think that's really important to note, is it's like, you know, Danny's friends in Kansas, if they think something's cute, they can get it instantly no matter where they live. So I think that also kind of, you know, bridges gaps too, because it's something, especially if you can buy it online and you can click and buy it, it really doesn't matter where you're reading it from or where I live or anything like that. So that's also something that I forgot to say that I wanted to say.
Well, I just got tweeted 2 questions, which is so exciting.
By the way, the hashtag bearing it all might be scandalous, right?
I did say I was bearing it all tonight, and I just hope people that we say just a layer. I'm just going with it. Yeah.
The first question is, what role does social media play in your reporting?
I would say, you know, right after we write a story, like today our story, actually Jessica wrote it, it was about holiday makeup, and, you know, right after it goes up, it goes, right after it goes up, oh wait,
That's special.
should I just keep going?
Are they knocking on the window?
I don't know. Anyway,
Did
but
they tweet the question? Is that right?
Maybe.
but
Security.
I won't put that on.
Is this what happens in Berkeley?
Are we getting
You have no idea.
So I was gonna say, right after we publish a story, I have to syndicate, right? Which is like trying to get it out to all these other sources. I email people at Sugar Inc. I email, you know, like today I emailed Bella Sugar, Annie, their editor over there, to try to get them to spread the story. I guess that's different than social media, but I would ask them to tweet it, I asked them to Facebook it. Any sources that we mentioned, like our story was about Benefit Beauty, which is a big, you know, company based in San Francisco, and you know, you just write them an email and be like, if you could tweet or Facebook it, and of course they have like 70,000 Twitter followers, so, and they did tweet it, so it's extremely important, the whole social media thing, like, if no one reads your article, then it might as well not have existed.
Yeah.
So, and the way that people read it is through social media. So, yeah, it's really important. Classy, our other intern, is really up on social media, and you know, she's teaching us about like Stumble Upon and all this stuff. So, which is incredibly important. Like we had a story about Halloween makeup, and Stumble Upon just like, I mean, like hundreds of thousands of people read this story, and it was because of Stumble Upon. So, it's incredibly important. I'm still trying to learn more about how we can use
Stumble.
social media,
I
Stumble,
stumble.
and yeah, how to use Stumble. So it's really.
I mean, we've noticed, even even in the past 6 months, Pinterest is huge. Like, it's just insane. So definitely keeping up on the latest is important. I will say the other thing that I get from social media is I get news sometimes faster on Facebook than I do anywhere else. Like, of course, my Google Reader is like, when it gets plus 1,000, but I'm like, I know what I'm doing to me. But for sure, like reading Facebook, I'm like, oh, Britt, gotta write about that now. Go.
Yeah, I pretty much I wake up. Well, my alarm goes off, and then I stay in bed for a while, and then I get on Twitter and I check. I mean, especially being on West Coast time, you know, if there's you're behind. So I get on Twitter, and that's how I found out who this morning. You know, that's how I found out that Bradley Cooper was People's Sexiest Man Alive. Like, that's how I found out. And you, especially with fashion stuff, it's like you find out who won, you know, CFDA awards the other night, and that's kind of that's how I get my news. And like Danny said, it's just so much quicker than trying to go through your Google Reader or trying to go through, you know, blogs. It's just a lot faster and easier. And like I said earlier, I mean, the fact that interns or assistants or it's just so important to know that stuff, because chances are, I mean, it's probably different in a company that is like purely digital. You know, our CEOs and everyone's like really abreast on all the social media stuff, but a lot of companies, you know, these people, they don't really want to bother learning new stuff.
They don't even know what it is.
Right.
Get on the Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, imagine, you have to think about it as like, I don't know how many of your parents are on social media. Like, my dad tweets the weirdest stuff. Like, so I always think about, imagine like you're going to work for your dad who is like typing like this, and they don't want to try to bother to know new stuff. It's like they're looking to you to know all that stuff is, and you know, someone's gonna come and be like, get us on Twitter, and you need to know how to just completely just build a Twitter account or stumble upon or Pinterest from the ground up. And yeah, as things that are coming out every day, it's like we try to put our spin on it and see how it's gonna work for sugar. So with Fab, like, we started a Pinterest account, we started an Instagram account, and that stuff has really done well for us, because anything that gives readers like a little insidery view about what you're doing and where you're going, and feels a little more like they're in on it too. That stuff does really well for us. You know, readers, they want to know not just what you're putting on your blog, but what you're doing, because they know that you're getting invited to cool events. They know that you're, you know, getting sent things, and they want to be in on that too. And so I think that social media is like the fastest, easiest way to reach people on like a more personal level.
This is just me asking this, but which social media platform do you think is the most valuable? I know we were talking about Pinterest.
I would say like
the latest one.
Well, for us, I think with traffic probably. Although I think our Facebook, I don't know if that's our biggest refer, but Twitter's so big because it's just a link, and it's just so easy for people, you know, they're on it all day. So I think that that's probably pretty big. Facebook and Twitter are so big for us. I think that when we have one of those big, you know, stories that stumble upon, and if it's organic growth, then that can be huge. So those are probably the three biggest. And Instagram is actually really growing for us as well. We have tons of followers. I would say
same.
yeah.
Pinterest, though, again, is like in the past few months, I've just blown away.
Yeah, I would say it changes. Twitter, you know, Twitter's great for people who just have like short attention spans and they want to see, you know, you can grab someone's attention really quickly with Twitter, which is great. You don't even I mean, sometimes you can link to a story, sometimes you don't even have to. Sometimes the tweets that have the biggest, get the most like retweets and yeah, I guess it would just be retweets. You know, it's just like, I just saw so-and-so like spotted, like XOXO, you know what I mean? It's just like stuff like that, that kind of stuff does really well for us too. Like I said, just like those insidery little bites. So I would say Twitter.
Well, cool. On that note, let's go to our other question from Twitter. It says you are all corporately owned companies, so what influence does advertising have on your content, if any?
I will answer that. Zero. We, in fact, we almost go the extreme to avoid writing about advertisers. So, for instance, like if, you know, Revlon has bought a skin on Bella Sugar and, you know, Rihanna just got named Revlon's newest, you know, spokesperson, we actually question, like, should we write about this today because it's gonna look as if to the reader. When we get sent things, if it's over $100, we always spell it out, like, this was provided for us. We make it like a paramount importance, to be transparent and to kind of avoid that. So luckily we're able to kind of separate it. Church and state, we care a lot about it.
I think we do too. I mean, we're an independent company, and but we are, you know, it started out really, really indie, and I don't think probably so many ads, but now, you know, we've been a lot more successful, and there's a lot of brands that want to partner with us. We obviously won't just partner with anyone. It's really who makes sense. You will see there's some posts that are sponsored, and so I think that they are labeled sponsored posts. Yeah, I mean, it'd have to be. It's like, and then, you know, there's advertising around it. So I think sometimes maybe in a slideshow something might be sponsored, but it's very clear that it's sponsored. I mean, as far as me as an editor, I mean, we have a whole advertising team. I don't, you know, really talk to them that much, you know, as it should be. So all of my content's pretty pure. I only write about it if I like it. You know, so I don't think it really affects it that much. But I'm definitely, like, aware of it, you know. But we're never told, like, hey, we have a big ad coming up with, like, Prada, make sure you put some shoes in your slideshow. Like, we don't get those emails. I think in magazines I worked at, I have received, you know, information like that I know why I'm writing about that. So,
about being based in San Francisco. So I want to talk about how you think your blog's being read by people in the area, how it's perhaps influenced Bay Area style.
Take that one. Yeah.
I mean, I think that what's great about having a local edition of Refineries, like, we can tell everybody, it's great to expose people to, like, all the cool people in town and all the events, and I do think it's been a way to kind of rally people, and they all know which parties to go to, and I don't know if, like, so much about, like, which restaurants to go to, but I do meet a lot of people and they're like, oh, I'm going to this restaurant I read this article about, and they start talking about the article. I'm like, I wrote that article.
I wrote the book.
Yeah, I'm like, so I think they do actually use it to kind of, you know, where they're going to go that weekend and all of that. So I hope it's had an influence. I don't think, you know, we're still quite young. It's only like 7 months old, but I hope to have a bigger influence. And I think for us, we have done some partnerships. We did a store opening for Acre SF. We did a Stephen Allen store opening, and I think, like, just bringing people together and having them know it's a Refinery 29 party, like, I want to be there, and have them, you know, maybe want to dress up a little bit and having more occasions for that, I think is great. You know, there's also, you know, Topshop's going to be coming to town in Uniqlo, and I think that there's all these big things that are happening for San Francisco, and people are going to just start, you know, dressing better and shopping more, and I just think the city's going to get, like, a lot more fashionable on its own, and we're just documenting that. So.
We went to that Refinery.
We were at your party.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say.
We were like, we had to work that night. We had the
royal
royal wedding that night, and so
Yeah.
Britt and I put on some PJs and worked through the night, no joke. And we started at your party, and I'm like, oh my god, these people are raging.
Yeah,
So we had one drink, and then we were like, then we left.
We were dancing on the ceiling, and we danced right into the office at midnight, and worked all night.
How do we influence the Bay? You know what, I don't know.
I don't know if we did.
I don't want to say that. I'm just yelling. I don't want to say that we don't, because I don't know that. But I think, you know, Katie has a better grasp on that because her writing is so local. I don't know that we influence people, like, in San Francisco. Like, I hope that we influence people everywhere. But I will say that, you know, there are more stylish girls in, I think San Francisco gets, like, the short end of the stick when it comes to like people talking about how like they can't dress or whatever. Like there are a lot of fashionable people in San Francisco. I think it's
Danielle Steele. She hates our stuff.
I'm over her. I'm over her.
She doesn't live here.
She doesn't live here. Right. So, no, but I think it's definitely different. Like, it's different than, like, a New York kind of style as it should be. But there are definitely stylish girls here. And I think that's the great thing about refineries. It's like they kind of pull those people together and pull them out. And so it's kind of about, like, giving those people a place to, like, yeah, like, wear whatever you want. Just because this is San Francisco doesn't mean you can't, you know, wear whatever you want regardless of how people are going to look at you or whatever, and that's how it should be. And so highlighting those people is,
Yeah, I think it's about like showing that there are such cool people here,
Right.
and I think that you kind of aspire to be a part of that, and you don't feel alone, and like,
Yeah.
you know, you want to dress up a little bit more, and you're kind of inspired by your own community, so yeah, it's a fun thing.
We've got more Twitter questions. I have a request for a follow-up to that last question. How would you subscribe the San Francisco fashion community?
How would you what?
Subscribe.
Subscribe or describe?
Maybe it's describe. Damn you, autocorrect.
I was gonna say, I just would.
I don't know. Well, moving from LA, it's like there's definitely, like me personally, I don't so much pay attention to like how a community dresses. Like obviously, like I wear what I want to wear. I think everyone else should wear whatever they want to wear. There's obviously like a different way of dressing, but like obviously there are people walking everywhere or taking public transportation and you want to be comfortable. But I don't think that people here will like dumb down their fashion just to be comfortable. It's still a lot of girls wearing flats, but they're cute flats or, you know, cute riding boots and I think for me, moving here from LA, I actually felt like I could breathe a little more. I didn't have to, it's like if I did want to dress up and, you know, get crazy dolled up one day, no one was going to give me the side eye. But at the same time, if I just wanted to wear jeans and Converse and a hoodie, it's like no one would give me the side eye for that either. Whereas in LA, and especially in like the wholesale industry, it's very much like you wear your Sunday best on like Monday to Friday, and it just gets tiring. And so I think it's nice to kind of be able to still have that like casual, kind of effortless aspect, and people understand that. So yeah, wear whatever you want. Like everyone in here looks great. Everyone in Berkeley like running around in shorts and it's 50 degrees outside. Do whatever. Like you be young. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I think that the climate here is really specific. It's kind of like fall or spring all year round, and then like a week of summer in October. It's really weird.
Yeah.
So I think that, especially like when we're doing our shopping roundups, like I think it was August, and we're not going to do a summer dress story in August here.
Right.
Like we're just not. It's kind of a weird. The climate's weird, so I think it is about being functional. People, you know, I kind of actually like the idea that you could wear fleece to like the best restaurant in town, and like no one's gonna judge you. Like no one judges your fashion here, so you can kind of dress up. And I also don't think people judge you when you dress up. Like some people say that they get stared at, or people are like, "Why are you dressed up?" But I mean, I never get that, and I think that people, I don't know, I kind of like it. It's like a non-judgment zone, and again, I think people are gonna start dressing up a little bit more. But I was in New York like maybe 2 months ago and wearing heels there, and I'm like, this is so easy. Like you don't even realize how hard it is to just wear heels here. It's just stupid sometimes. So.
Well, we got tweeted another question. Going back to social media platforms like Pinterest and Instagram, the question says they're great ways to engage your readers, but does it actually bring new readers to your sites?
I think it does. I think it definitely does. I think Twitter is like, that's kind of what it's about, because then they can reach their own social networks, so you do get uniques through that. And for us, it's also about being syndicated and kind of unique, I don't know, like other sites and everything, and some of that's through like Twitter. Like we had a story on cutest shop dogs in town, and we got like tweeted by like I don't know, it's like dog fancy or something, and that was, we got all these uniques, no dog people were reading Refinery before, so, but they did that day. So I think it is quite powerful.
You never know.
It's hard to tell, like, if someone from Twitter or Facebook is a unique reader that they haven't already come prior. At least in our analytics, it's kind of hard to kind of differentiate that. That being said, StumbleUpon, I think, is where we have seen amazing success. If something really picks up there in Pinterest, like, when we see that much traffic, there are clearly a lot of new readers.
Ours is broken down by uniques, so we can actually see what drove uniques in. And I think it's a lot of social stuff, and then it's usually referring sites as well. So,
well, before we go into audience Q&A, I just wanted to address probably the biggest question that we all have. We're all interested in getting into the fashion industry eventually. And I know we talked a bit about having the drive to always learn something new and knowing about different social media and knowing how to do Photoshop, which is terribly difficult. So what's like the biggest, best advice that you could offer us on how to be prepared to get into the fashion industry when we graduate?
I was joking with Britt. I could talk about this for hours. So I've interviewed literally hundreds of people for jobs at Sugar Inc. and I've seen the best of the best and, not the best. So I think the most important thing, especially for people of your age, is to do an internship. That is so key. Not only because you might end up working at that corporation, but also because that's going to look like gold on your resume. Obviously, you need to create a resume and a cover letter to even get in the front door, so do that. And it is about having stuff like your own personal blog or doing stuff with school or all of those things. I will say, when I look at people's cover letters and resumes, I have sometimes 5 seconds to look at that email, and I'm like, I'm going to know immediately if I like you or not, and I'll tell you some secrets. So the most important to me is a cover letter. Like, I want it to look like you've spent 4 days on that cover letter. I want it to be totally geared towards my site. Like, I don't want it to be like, hello Refinery 29, which I cannot tell you how many times that happens, like, no joke. And I want you to, like, sell yourself. Like, I want you to say, I'm obsessed with this blog, I've been reading it on my lunch break and after school every single day, and I'm dying to work there, and here's why. I'm like, you should hire me. Like, that to me is like paramount to anything. And then when you actually get on the interview, do your research. Like, Refinery, Fab, like, it is so easy to read those sites, know what you like, know what you don't like, know what you'd want to change. I'm a big fan, because you'll get asked. You should be asked. I'm a big fan of prep work. Like, it's so amazing if you have a portfolio, but how much cooler would it be to have a portfolio of things that you want to do for that site? So those are my biggest things. Just like really work on your cover letter, and then when you get there, just know the job in and out. Know what you should wear to that job. Like, we all work in very like relaxed environments. Maybe you shouldn't wear jeans, but you certainly don't need to wear a business suit. Those are my tips.
I would say what has helped me.
Send cupcakes.
I wouldn't recommend sending cupcakes. Like, it was like I passed out and like blacked out during that. Like, I don't know why I did that. Something just told me. I would not like sit here and tell you guys to send cupcakes to like people after they've interviewed you. I actually still don't really know what I was thinking, but it's not for me to question at this point because I got the job. So I would say that, you guys are here getting like these very specific degrees, and you're here in a 4-year program, and like I'll be on, like, I have a 2-year degree. I have an associate's in visual communications, and I didn't, go to school for what I'm doing now, but did it stop me? No. And I think that, shit happens. And you might like think you know what you want to do right this second, and a year from now or 2 years from now that may change, but you don't have to let that stop you. So it's like, if you really, really, really want a job, and say, you know, in the job listing, maybe you have 4 out of 5 of those things, but you can learn that 5th thing. It's like, totally just like, like Danny said in the cover letter, just like Kanye yourself out. Like, you're the greatest at this, like you will be the best at this job, and just really push yourself to like talk yourself up. And like Danny said, just really read every word of that job listing and like match your resume and your cover letter to that job listing. Like literally just one by one, just tell them just answer their call on that job listing. And I think that you just have to, obviously, like, tenacity helps. Not quitting helps. And I think just you guys obviously are here and you know how to work hard, and you just need to let the people that you want to work for know how hard you're willing to work and what you want to bring to that company. And I think that I don't want to say I'm a good example, but I think I'm a good example of like not necessarily having all the schooling that I probably thought I needed to have this job, but I made up for it in work experience. So like Danny said, internships are great, and you know, if you don't end up working for that company, it's at least going to get you one step further to working for a different company. And just use every ounce of your energy just soaking things up at every internship or every job. And yeah, just perseverance. Do your homework and stay in school and
be real.
Just be, yeah, exactly. I don't know. I would just say, you know, just don't let anything stop you in the end.
I would second, you know, everything they say, and also I just think 2 things. Like, one is just like network so hard. Like, that's how, you know, my first full-time job was at Marie Claire magazine, and I think the way I got it was my professor, who was also, you know, the editor-in-chief of ESPN, the magazine, introduced me to some girl, and he said, take her out to coffee. And you just keep offering to take people out to coffee, like, all the time, like, anyone you meet, can I take you out for coffee? And so he's like, ask this girl out to coffee. So I did. She had a couple minutes, and then I said, do you know anyone else I can meet with? Because she didn't have any jobs open, because she was working at like Fortune magazine, which I didn't want to work at, but I would have at that time. And then you know, she introduced me to someone who introduced me to someone who I think introduced me to someone that passed me a resume to the executive editor, Marie Claire. And she really didn't even know me, this girl, but she just passed my resume, and probably like 3 other people that she also didn't know, you know, to this person, and I ended up getting the job. And so that was all through networking. Like, that job listing wasn't on Media Bistro, it wasn't on anything, it was just through someone in the office that knew that this job was open.
Like, you never know who it's gonna...
You never know. Yeah. So I think you just, you know, just be really nice to everybody, ask them out to coffee, and then, after you talk to them and ask them about, you know, how they got their job and everything and what they do, like, say, is there anyone else I can meet with? And then email them afterwards, and then they'll give you that person's information, and just keep doing it. And these, like, will probably pay off in like a year down the road, but they do pay off. And I still have a weird like network on LinkedIn of these people who I coffee with, and like I don't really know them, but it's interesting to see like where they went. And, you know, I coffee with them one day. So that's one thing, just really, really network. It's so important. And then the other thing is just like read a lot, and just, you know, continue to be really interested in like, you know, whatever you like to read is like kind of how you're going to want to write. And I think that right now everyone reads like really short things, or we're not actually reading anymore. Like, we're skimming. I know I'm not reading that much. So it's really important to do that, because I just think as a writer, you're going to be better, because you just get the tone in your head. Like, you know, just find a writer that you really identify with and just keep reading their stuff, and then you'll kind of develop your own voice, but at least you kind of have something to go off of. So that's it.
All good advice. Well, now I'd like to open...
Claire the print or workingfurther.com.
Equal. Honestly, like I was saying earlier, I care so much more, especially with people your age. Like, I care so much more about what you've done with your cover letter. Like, I spend 90% of my energy on the cover letter, and then I like look at the resume, I'm like, okay, they went to school, okay, they've done something, I'll meet them. Like for me, like that's less important, but equal for sure.
I mean, I would say we're actually hiring someone in LA right now, and I just did a whole bunch of interviews down there. And I would say the online experience, like if I'm a website, I want to know that you've like, worked in a blogging platform. So I think I did meet some people who had kind of like weird styling experience for magazines, and like that's so far away from what we've done. Like obviously, yeah, they'd get an interview or something, but it's getting closer to like who's gonna make it. It's like people that have worked closer in the format that I'm working in. So I would say now online, and I think most jobs that you guys are going to be applying for are going to probably be online jobs. Like there's not that many magazines unless you're going to move to New York, and then they're still like shrinking. Yeah. So I think online experience is much more important now. People are just going to be impressed by it too. They're going to think you really know, like you're a techie.
Yeah. And I think for that LA position, it was probably the only position.
Yeah.
So that person like had to own it. From a writing perspective, I will look at both equally, but I think from like an A to Z, can they do this and can they do this today? Definitely online.
Any more questions?
Hi, I'm Rachel. I was wondering, since you guys are an online medium, how do you balance working? Because it's like 24/7 news. Like, how do you balance that with your personal life? And when do you like take breaks?
No, I mean, this is like a really demanding position. Again, like I wake up at 6:30. I'm usually writing till like 11:30. I take like a life break in between somewhere. I don't really know what I do. I'm still thinking about work like all the time. But for me, I mean, that's, I love this job. I really like, luckily I'm not doing like accounting or something for 24 hours. I'm doing like this really fun lifestyle journalism. If I'm going to parties, it's still kind of work, but it's fun work. Like going on shoots is probably one of my favorite parts of the job. It's all work, but like, being 5 hours like on the shoot at Google that we did was like so much fun. And I'm not mad that I have to go home and then write some more fun posts. Like it's work, so it kind of sucks, but I don't know, it's all kind of fun. So right now I'm not like that mad at it, but no, I don't really have like a big like life outside a refinery right now, but maybe I will in a couple months. I don't know.
I mean, I will say luckily we have timers,
Yeah.
so we are able to set things off hours. But that being said, there's always breaking news. There are fashion shows that happen on the weekends. There are award shows that happen at night. Like, we definitely have work moments outside of your normal Monday through Friday 9 to 5. Luckily, I think we do all really enjoy them, and we would probably be watching the Oscars with the computer on our lap anyway.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice getting paid for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a lot. We do not go to as many parties as Miss Katie does.
No.
But it's demanding, but it's fun.
Yeah.
I would say, kind of to Danny's point, like one of the things that I love about especially working on Fab is during Fashion Week. Yes, it's long hours. Yes, it's a lot of weekends, but I love like getting to see the collections like as they're on the runway and seeing the pictures show up like right as they're happening. And yeah, I'm working, but it's still amazing work and it's still fun work. And yeah, we do like live polling for all the award shows, and it's like, yeah, I would be watching that stuff anyway. And like we just live blogged the VMAs not too long ago, and it's like, I would sit there and watch the VMAs, and I would be freaking out if Beyonce was pregnant on the red carpet, and I still did, and I just got to write about it. So it's, it's fun, and especially award show nights, like we all get together and order food, exactly, and have a little wine or something, and you go on about it. You'd be doing most of the stuff anyway, I find, so it makes it. It's like when you hear about the hours and you hear about working weekends or working nights, it's like you are amazed at how little it bugs you because of how much fun you're having doing what you're doing. I will say, my Friday nights are for catching up on my Google Reader because it's usually like 1,000 plus by the end of the week. and catching up on magazines, and like that's what I treasure doing. So I think yeah, there's not much about my job that I wouldn't be doing anyway. So it doesn't always feel like work to me. It's hard work. You do have to work hard, but it's enjoyable.
Well, unfortunately, we're out of time for Q&A, but thank you so much, Danny, Britt, and
One
Katie.
thing to say.
Oh, just kidding. One more.
Little bridesmaid moment. I'm like, actually, don't. We are hiring interns, which I'm sure you guys all want to hear. So come grab a card, and I'd love to chat with you guys.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to turn the floor over to Tanya, who's going to introduce this new cover for Berkeley.
So just so everyone knows, we're launching our magazine for this semester on December 3rd. So it's the beginning of Dead Week. We're going to be having a party at Beta Lounge, which is on Durant, if anyone wants to come, December 3rd. But you can check our blog for more details. And tonight we have a special surprise. We're going to launch the cover so you guys can kind of see what it's about and get a little sneak preview. So here it is. So there's a lot more where that comes from if you guys want to come to the launch party and pick up a copy of the magazine. And then I just want to conclude by saying thank you, and if we could give the speakers a little round of applause.